Hello there again, YouTube. It's once again I, your gothic host with the most, Nox Burzum, back to bringing more blasphemous banter. And welcome back to Hooptober on Enter the Void. Today we're talking about Hound of the Baskervilles from 1959, starring Peter Cushing and Andre Morell and Christopher Lee. And by the way, it is a great fucking movie. It's very fun seeing these two classical Shakespearean actors just chewing the scenery with each other. It's very fun. It was directed by Terence Fisher, written by Arthur Conan Doyle and Peter Bryan. It is listed as horror and mystery on IMDb. It has a 6.9 out of 10 ranking on IMDb, which I think is pretty fair, actually. That's pretty accurate. You've got Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes, Andre Morell as Dr. Watson himself, Sir Christopher Lee as Sir Henry. We got Marla Landy as Cecile, who comes into play for several parts of the movie. We've got David Oxley as Sir Hugo, Francis DeWolf as Dr. Mortimer. We've got Miles Malleson as Bishop, Ewan Salon as Stapleton, John Lee Masur as Barrymore, who I believe is one of the servants, and Helen Goss as Mrs. Barrymore. And a whole bunch of other people who don't need to be mentioned right now. Any rate, so this movie comes in at 87 minutes. Like I said, it was released in 1959, May 4th, from the UK. It grossed $1.25 million at box office worldwide, which is very good for back then. It's somewhere in the city. Let's see here. What would that be in today's money? Looking at 1.25 million. 1.25 million in 1959 worth today. So it would be 150. Holy shit. Okay, so this thing made $100.25 million in today's money. So just to put it in perspective, it did well. Funny story about this film. We had to watch this twice because we got it confused with another one that was listed online for free, which turned out to be the British stage play, which someone had lovingly used an over-the-shoulder camera to film the whole thing of, and damn was that dry watching that. At any rate, this was a Hammer production. Loved it. I personally will tell you right now, I give this an 8 out of 10. I thought it was incredibly well acted. I thought that all of the shots were really well done. There's some really good dynamic angles that are used to give a sense of even greater depth to a feel to the whole set. I loved the lighting. There was not one point in time where I thought I was on set. Everything looked real. Mise-en-scène was really on point. Like, everything was so fully immersive. And even though it was made in 1959, you still believed everything that was in front of your eyes. I thought it was very impressive. Let's see here. Notable facts, awards. It didn't win anything, unfortunately. Critical reception. Peter Cushing's Holmes received good reviews at the time, with films and filming calling him impish, waspish, and wild Ian Holmes. Wow. Even back then, Ian Holmes was being used as a way to describe acting. That's interesting. While the New York Herald Tribune stated Peter Cushing is a forceful and eager Sherlock Holmes, Andre Morell's Watson has been praised for his far more accurate rendition of the character, as envisioned by Arthur Conan Doyle, as opposed to the comical buffoon created by Nigel Bruce. So this movie did very well, and I give it, like I said, an 8 out of 10. So, if you want to know about the movie itself, that was what's going to happen. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler territory. So, we open up on a lord of the land, essentially, back in the, I think it's supposed to be like the 1500s. And the long and short of it is that there's this very crass, violent, brutish English lord who has control over this enormous estate and its surrounding little boroughs. And unfortunately, he murders this woman's father, and then I think he rapes her, and then he chases her across the moor and eventually is responsible for her death. And that is when the Hound of the Baskervilles avenges her death and kills the shit out of him, which is hilarious. But from there on out, the land is supposedly cursed. And the long and short of it is that Sherlock Holmes is asked to come and investigate the property because it has, or it's a, let's see here. Dr. Richard Mortimer recounts to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson in Baker Street the legend of the ghost town that killed the devilish Sir Hugo Baskerville for his murder of the daughter of a servant, which is what I just talked about. He asks Holmes to investigate the death of his personal friend, Sir Charles of Baskerville, in Dartmoor from heart failure. In the moor surrounding his estate, Baskerville Hall, with a look of horror on his face, Mortimer fears for the life of Sir Henry, Sir Charles's nephew and heir, who's just come from South Africa to take possession of his inheritance and of Baskerville Hall. So the long and short of it is Holmes is offered £1 million to go and investigate the hall and see if there's actually anything to this supposed haunting. Because remember, this is Sherlock Holmes, so the majority of the time, the supernatural is not actually supernatural. And since this is spoiler territory, I'm just going to let you know right now, no, of course it's not anything supernatural, but it's pretty clever. On their way to Baskerville Hall, the trio learns that Selden, a convicted murderer, has escaped Dartmoor prison and is hiding on the moor. At Baskerville Hall, Mr. Barrymore, the butler, and Mrs. Barrymore, the housekeeper, show them around the mansion. One of the two portraits of Sir Hugo is missing, and the Barrymores say it was mysteriously stolen months before, which is basically foreshadowing of how money is becoming tight, and it's just a subtle nod. It's nice. I liked it. The next day, Sir Henry and Watson meet Bishop Franklin, a pastor and keen entomologist. Watson gets trapped in a patch of mire in the Grimpen Mire and is saved by a farmer named Stapleton and his daughter Cecilia, a girl who bewitches Sir Henry. That's not really accurate. So what actually happens is that Cecile runs away from Watson, who acts like the typical mid-50s white male, and tries to get this girl who doesn't know him to come on over to him. And instead of coming on over to him, she like growls at him like, "Arr!" And then she takes the fuck off. And she lures him down very easily, I might add, to this peat bog. And basically, she runs across the areas that she knows are actually like, land. And Watson, like the white bull elephant that he sees himself to be, charges directly ahead and goes blip, 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 and immediately sinks down into the fucking mire, which is funny that that's how Wikipedia describes that scene, because anyway, that night, Watson and Sir Henry investigate a light on the moor, which ends up being a signal light, of course. They briefly encounter a strange man who flees in the shadows, and a distant hound howls, provoking in Sir Henry a mild heart attack. Watson spots a man on a hill in the distance while helping Sir Henry back to Baskerville Hall. Watson discovers it to be Holmes, who has concealed his own arrival to investigate more freely. And, that's not really... that's how short they're making the description of this movie. So that doesn't happen until like 2 hours into a 2.5 hour long film, just to let you know. Selden, wearing Sir Henry's clothes, is slaughtered by the unseen hound. Holmes and Watson find his body mutilated in a ritual site, and the legendary curved dagger of Sir Hugo is there as well. The Barrymores confess to having helped Selden, who was their relative, by supplying him food and clothes each time he signaled with a light from his hideout. Holmes is convinced that neither the Barrymores nor Selden are connected, though, to the death of Sir Charles, which they're not. He also figures that the tarantula found in London was stolen by Bishop Franklin. I didn't mention it before because it wasn't the big thing here, but there's a spider in the beginning, and he sees that as a clue. I'm not smart like Sherlock Holmes is smart, so I don't understand why. After surviving personal danger in an abandoned tin mine while looking for evidence of a hound, Holmes is able to deduce who unleashed the Hound in pursuit of Sir Charles. Holmes explains that after questioning Barrymore about the missing portrait, that it was stolen because it was revealed the fingers on Hugo's right hand were webbed like Stapleton's. Okay, I'm sorry, so they weren't selling it, it's that it gave away his parentage. And it's this weird thing in the story that's mentioned, it's a birth defect that causes like a mild webbing in between your fingers, and it's really noticeable. Finding the dagger stolen, Holmes and Watson follow Sir Henry and Cecile to the moor. Cecile takes Sir Henry to the ruins, where Holmes and Watson hear Cecile reveal her intentions to a horrified Sir Henry, revealing that she and her father are also descendants of Sir Hugo and are planning to claim the inheritance as their own, of course, when Sir Henry is dead. The Hound appears and attacks Sir Henry until Holmes shoots it, causing it to back off. With Sir Hugo's curved dagger, Stapleton attempts to attack Watson, who shoots and mortally wounds him. The wounded Hound attacks Stapleton and fatally mauls the bitch, because bitches die dumb. Holmes shoots and kills the Hound, which, by the way, ends up being that it's just a German. I can't remember. It's a Rottweiler, I believe, and basically they pulled a leather muzzle over its face to augment its features. In the original book, it is described much more spookily, because I have read the story, and it's described as being like black shuck. But I think that that's also for the benefit of the reader. So I enjoyed how they made the Hound actually look in the movie. I thought it was pretty neat. The wounded Hound attacks Stapleton and fatally mauls him. Holmes shoots and kills the Hound. Sir Henry is unscathed from the mauling as Holmes reveals the Hound to be an ordinary dog wearing a mask to make it look more terrifying. Cecile tries to flee across the moor, only to fall into the Grimpen mire and sink to her death as Holmes and Watson take a shocked Sir Henry back to Baskerville Hall. Back in Baker Street, Holmes and Watson are given by Sir Henry the stolen portrait of Sir Hugo that was found in the Stapleton farm, which of course has the webbed hands on it, proving, of course, that Holmes was right. So, spoilers, if I really can spoil it. I mean, I just read you guys the summary, which is the best way I think to describe this movie. There is really nothing to spoil. It's a very straightforward mystery story, and if you enjoy things like Death on the Nile and Glass Onion and Knives Out, then you'll enjoy this movie. I personally give it, like I said, 8 out of 10. You can obviously see it on Tubi, or you can see it on Amazon Prime, which I believe is where we ended up seeing it. There is unfortunately no DVD print of this I know of, so those are really the only two ways to watch it. I hope they really enjoyed this. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. We will be having a Patreon account set up very shortly here, and I can't wait for you guys to be able to start donating. So hopefully you enjoy my bit of blasphemous banter. Love, peace, and heavy fucking metal, folks. Until next time, don't forget to enter the void. Goodbye.